Today we're going to be talking about the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Anyone who's familiar with NFTs knows about the Bored Ape Yacht Club and knows about the May 2021 drop of Bored Apes, which just has gone crazy, gangbusters, insane. So what we want to do is talk a little bit today to three groups of people. One, if you bought a Bored Ape, are you wondering what you actually bought? What did you get? I'll almost guarantee you, you think that you bought something different than you actually did buy. You've gotten potentially much less than you think you purchased. And your ability to sell that NFT is tied to what you received from the initial minting. You can only pass on what you received. You're going to be very surprised to learn what you did not receive. If you are considering buying any NFT, you're going to enjoy this video because it's going to really show you how to do some due diligence on your NFT purchase, figure out who's behind the project and what are the terms of the purchase that you're agreeing to. And of course, if you're considering an NFT drop at all, then this is going to help you understand how to do it right. So this is going to be a series of videos, and we're going to talk about a variety of different things. So you're going to want to come back, you want to subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell so that you get notified of the next video. But we're going to break this up into pieces. And essentially, the name of this series is Bored Apes on the Loose. Why are they on the loose? Because who really controls these Bored Apes? Who really owns these Bored Apes? What rights are really bundled with these Bored Apes? They are on the loose, and I'm going to show you why. So we're going to talk about a few different things. We're going to understand a little bit about the NFT, the non-fungible token, which is distinct from the digital image. The digital image is the Bored Ape. The token is what goes on the blockchain. We're going to be talking about that. Then we're going to actually go through and determine ownership of the NFT and of the image based on what the Bored Ape Yacht Club included when it offered these apes initially for sale in their terms of use. So we're going to determine whether or not you actually own your Bored Ape, whether or not you have a license to your Bored Ape, and if you do only have a license, what are the rights that you received and what are the limitations that deal with those rights. So if you own a Bored Ape, you're probably not going to feel too good about this video because you're going to learn some things that you probably don't want to hear, but you should know. And if you're involved in the NFT community, you're going to hear some things that are going to instruct you on how to do your own due diligence if you're ever considering buying an NFT. All right, so Bored Ape Yacht Club, 10,000 apes, 6.4 thousand owners. So 6.4 thousand of you actually own these 10,000 apes. And you probably think you own the ape outright and you can do whatever you want with that Bored Ape. That may or may not be true. And the reason why this is important and crazy is because of the price of these apes. So if we look on OpenSea, you'll see that here's a Bored Ape that is actually on a buy now price of what, 15,000 ETH. So you're talking about, I think, $14 million for this ape. If you were to buy this ape, you would only get whatever rights existed from the prior owners. What is it you would be purchasing for that $14 million? All right, let's take a look at some interesting things. The first thing that we want to do is we want to talk a little bit about what you're actually purchasing when you buy an NFT on the blockchain, on someplace like OpenSea. And so we want to understand the token and the digital image which goes with the token. And you've probably, hopefully now learned there's a distinction between the NFT, which is the smart contract that goes on the blockchain, and the digital image that is linked to the smart contract. The digital image, being the Bored Ape that we saw in the OpenSea platform, is linked to the token. The token is the smart contract. So let's figure out these two different critical components of your NFT purchase. So what is the NFT token? Like I said, it's a smart contract. It's an address that's comparable to an email address that's used to identify an account on the Ethereum blockchain. So the token contract goes onto the Ethereum blockchain, and that is the actual token. Non-fungible token. The token is a contract. Let's take a look. You can go to the Ethereum scan or Etherscan IO. You can look at this contract. This is the Bored Ape Yacht Club token. That is the contract for your Smart Ape purchase. This is the contract number here. This is called the token contract, as we've already discussed. You can see that Bored Ape Yacht Club has claimed this contract. They're the actual contract creator. And if you scan down through Etherscan, you're going to see you can see transactions, but you can also see the contract itself. And the contract is a series of if-thens, objects, functions, etc., that are going to tell this contract how it's going to interact with the blockchain, what's going to be allowed, what's going to be recorded, what's going to be read, and what's going to be written onto potentially the next block in the next transaction. So the smart contract, it turns out, is really not so smart. And the reason why I say this is because the smart contract isn't telling you anything about what the license or ownership terms are with regard to the actual image. So this Bored Ape here, right, this transaction's being recorded in the smart contract on the blockchain, but what rights do you have in the image itself? And that, unfortunately, is typically completely unaddressed by the NFT token, by the smart contract itself. All you're going to find here is a bunch of code that is going to identify things like owners, transfers of ownerships, royalty payments, these types of things. All right, so this is the token contract here. Let's kind of dive back into some more aspects of the NFT. So it goes onto the blockchain. Blockchain is censorship resistant, censorship proof, tamper proof, and it's reactive in that it's controlled by the private keys. So if you own an NFT, right, if you are an owner of a digital image reflected on the blockchain, your private key through your wallet is going to allow you to interact with the blockchain, to execute, to start the software on that contract. So if you own the NFT, you can transfer the NFT linked to your digital image by interacting with the contract address. And because your private key is recorded as another item on the blockchain under that smart contract, you're able to control that. So it's reactive. It's got read functions, meaning that it would retrieve information from the contract. It's got write functions, which enable you to write new information into a new smart contract, which will go onto the blockchain. For instance, I'm selling it. The contract needs to execute a fund transfer of crypto from the buyer's wallet to my wallet. That's a write function. It is going to also execute the ownership transfer from me to the purchaser. And so these are the types of things that you're going to see in the write functions, which are going to allow you to interact through your private key with that contract. And the contract is just code, and you're executing code from the blockchain when you interact with that contract. All right, so the NFT goes onto the blockchain, and part of what the NFT code does in the smart contract is it identifies the digital image, the video, the art, the Bored Ape image. Which Bored Ape do you own, or do you own the NFT for, as the case may end up turning out to be? And so that purchase by you from potentially a predecessor or directly from the Bored Ape Yacht Club is going to be recorded on the blockchain, and it's going to be linked to the digital image. So it's going to indicate the ownership of the token. The token is going to be linked to the image, the video, what people think of as the NFT, but is not the NFT. And it's going to record secondary sale royalties. So that takes us to the second component of these NFT sales, which is the actual digital image itself. So that would be familiar to us as a numbered Bored Ape that is linked to the NFT, the token itself. So the crazy part is, and most people do not realize this, but those images are actually hosted on external servers in most cases. They're not on the blockchain itself. So the NFT token simply links to an image which is stored on a server, and then when you sell the token, that is linked to the image, and the image goes with the token. All right, so crazy, right? So if the image doesn't go on the blockchain, where does it go? And you're going to see that if we were to actually view the source code of this particular digital image, you're going to see that it links to a server called googleusercontent.com. So this image is actually sitting, not on the blockchain, not in your wallet, right? Not on a decentralized set of servers, but is actually sitting in the Google Cloud. And so if you were to actually just do a right click and open up this image from the code, you would see here it is. This is what it looks like at the Google Cloud server. So what happens if this Google Cloud server goes down? What if it's attacked? What if it is accidentally compromised or deleted? Your NFT is going to link to nowhere. Your ability to say that you are the owner of this image will be compromised, if not lost altogether. Now, what we'll talk about in some future videos is some of the more recent NFT drops are now using the interplanetary file system, which will then potentially mean that this image would be linked forever, no matter if a single server or group of servers went down. Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? They didn't know they were going to be so crazy popular and did not anticipate any number of things. But if they could do it again, I'm sure that they would be placing these images on a decentralized server system. Now, look at this means that this is a risk. Google's not likely to go anywhere, but I think we can all anticipate that there are scenarios whereby 1,000 years from now, this Bored Ape may no longer exist. The asset you purchased may no longer exist. So risks and opportunities, right? And so we would all still probably buy our Bored Apes, but we should go in with our eyes open, and we should understand the inherent risks of this particular NFT drop and be able to do the due diligence on future NFT drops to see if those same risks exist. All right, so if I were to go to this Bored Ape and I were to buy it now, the question is, what am I buying? Okay, I'm getting a token that goes onto the blockchain. I actually is wrong. This is actually $40 million if you happen to have that money. Well, let's look on this page, and we've done this in many of our prior videos. You'll see there's some rarity properties. There's some information about the Bored Ape Yacht Club. There's a contract address, but what we don't know is what is being sold. What am I purchasing besides the token? Am I purchasing this board, the rights, the copyright to this Bored Ape, because this is a copyright protected asset. This is an intangible property right in this asset. The only way I can claim ownership of this ape is if I am the owner of the copyright to this ape. Let me say it again. The only way I can own this ape is if I am the copyright owner of this ape, which means it has to be assigned to me or sold, all rights sold to me as part of this purchase. But yet there's literally nothing on this page that tells me what it is I'm buying, if anything. Well, there is a boredapeyachtclub.com webpage. Let's go there and see if we could find out what actually I am purchasing. Luckily, unlike many projects, there is a web page which purports to try and tell us what it is that we're buying when we purchase a Bored Ape NFT. And it's under the terms and conditions page of the Bored Ape Yacht Club website. Now, look at this is the today's version of the website. The reality is that the initial terms and conditions that were posted the day these were minted, the day that the initial purchase occurred of the NFT, are the likely dates that the terms and conditions are going to control. So if this web page changes, those changes would not affect any of the rights around the NFT, or should not, because you can't modify this contract once the purchase occurs without additional agreement by all parties involved. That's not going to happen. So you have to use archive.org to find the date that these were initially sold, to find out what terms and conditions applied on that date. Those are going to follow the NFT and the linked digital asset forever into the day. If this website goes down, by the way, you're going to have a hard time trying to figure out what the terms and conditions were of your NFT purchase. All right, so let's take a look at this. You're going to see it's broken into 3 sections. The good news for you NFT Bored Ape owners starts out by saying ownership. That's a good sign. First sub I says you own the NFT. The second one says personal use and commercial use. Well, that's a little interesting because either you own it or you don't. What I've done is I've broken what is essentially an assignment or license agreement, a copyright license or copyright assignment agreement for the initial purchase of this NFT and all subsequent sales and purchases of this NFT. All right, so let's take a look at what this actually says. All right, so we're going to try and determine the owner's rights. Number one, if it turns out that Bored Ape Yacht Club hired an independent contractor to create these Bored Apes and didn't get a work for hire agreement in place, then it might be that Bored Ape Yacht Club wouldn't even own these NFTs to license or assign in the first place. So again, another risk. But you want to determine the ownership of the copyright. One of the things that's missing in here is any sort of warranty that Bored Ape actually owns the rights in these Bored Ape images and indemnifies you if there's a problem with that down the line. Pretty interesting, right? All right, let's take a look and break down some of these issues. Do Bored Ape token owners own their Bored Ape images? Okay, ownership is great because if you own the NFT, you can do whatever you want with it. When you purchase the NFT, you own the underlying Bored Ape copyright, the art completely, okay? So let's take a look at the bundle of rights that go with the copyright to the Bored Ape image. Okay, owner's rights under U.S. law, a copyright owner has the exclusive right to reproduce the Bored Ape in copies. That's great. If you buy a Bored Ape, you certainly want to make copies of it potentially and put it even in your Facebook and in your Twitter. If Twitter's going to put a copy of your Bored Ape on their server so they can offer up as your profile picture, then that's a reproduction. And the owner is the only one that can reproduce the Bored Ape in copies, absent permission from the copyright owner. The second one is very important. It's prepared derivative works of the Bored Ape. And we'll talk about this in some future videos, but derivative work is something that incorporates some or all of the pre-existing work and adds new original copyright to that work. So it's often referred to as an adaptation. If you were to adapt this art in any way, any changes to your Bored Ape, background color, give him a hat, change the media in which he's depicted, may be a derivative right of the copyright owner. So the owner has the exclusive right to prepare derivative works, absent an agreement that passes that right on. You have the right to distribute copies of the Bored Ape by sale. That's good. You can sell that Bored Ape to the next purchaser. You can rent it, you can lease it, you can lend it. That is to say, if you're the owner. You can display the Bored Ape publicly. Well, that's certainly an important thing, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't even be able to keep your Bored Ape up on OpenSea if the owner didn't pass that right on to you. You can also, as the owner of the copyright, license the work either in part or in whole to someone else by granting certain of these same rights to someone and providing limitations on those rights to someone. So I can transfer ownership of my copyright to a new owner, or I can license some of my rights downstream on an exclusive or non-exclusive basis, on a global or non-global basis. There's 1,000 ways to slice and dice these rights that we see here. You can license those rights downstream and put limitations on those rights. So, Bored Ape owners, what do you think you got? Do you think you got ownership of your Bored Ape? If you paid 30 million, you probably think you did, right? Or did you simply get a license from the owner to that Bored Ape, which includes both grants of certain rights and limitations to certain rights? All right, so look at this is the section from the terms of service that is essentially section 1 here. And I just broke it down so we could all take a look at it. Good news is it says ownership. And it says, good news, it says you own the NFT. When you purchase an NFT, you own the underlying Bored Ape, the art, completely. Wow, that's awesome. That's what you hope for. And by the way, most NFT sales are not that. Most are license deals. But boy, that's really encouraging, right? And it says here's even better. At no point may we seize, freeze, or otherwise modify the ownership of any Bored Ape. So the NFT smart contract is going to pass on ownership to you, according to this particular paragraph, and they can't interfere with your future transfer of ownership or any of these bundle of rights that a copyright owner has. Essentially, when we say ownership of the NFT, we're talking about ownership of the copyright associated with the NFT. Okay? That's great. So, boom. You own the NFT. Awesome. Whoa, 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 whoa. What's this? Wait. Why do we have anything further than that? If I own it, there's nothing more to say, but it says here personal use and commercial use. Huh, Yuga Labs, LLC. What is this supposed to mean? Let's break it down. All right, Yuga Labs, LLC is now saying, despite the fact that we purported to provide ownership of your Bored Ape to you when you paid that 30 mil, we're now going to put a grant of, we're now going to actually license it to you. And you can't do both. You can't both transfer ownership and then license at the same time. But let's just go ahead and work through this, even though we're going to conclude that this agreement, this contract, this copyright transfer is complete mess. It makes no sense from a legal point of view. It's completely upside down, and we don't know. You don't know what it is you actually received when you purchased that Bored Ape, because this contract is a mess. So let's take a look at why. So let's just forget the fact that they said you owned it and see what they say here. So if you're going to use your Bored Ape for personal, non-commercial use, you know, just kind of show it off or use it around your house, put up a digital frame and put it in that digital frame, right? Here's what it says. You get a worldwide royalty-free license to use, copy, and display the Bored Ape, along with any extension that you choose to create, use, or use solely for the following purposes. Whoa. If I own it, there can be no limitations. But now it's saying I have a license to it, and I only get these three things: use, copy, and display. Here are the ones in blue. Obviously, use is implied, but I can copy, meaning reproduce, and I can display it, but I don't get a chance. I can't create derivative works. I can't distribute it. I can't license it to others. And this doesn't say, obviously, it would be commercial, but if I wanted to transfer it to my son or daughter without any consideration from personal reasons, I don't even have the right to transfer this under the plain language. All right, but not only do I have a limited personal use set of rights, but I can only use copy, and display the Bored Ape for my own personal non-commercial use. Okay, well, I can't even sell it. I can't do anything with it. I can't monetize it in any way. That's what this seems to say. Despite the fact that we now have another section that deals with commercial use, I'm not allowed to use it commercially here. As part of a marketplace that permits the purchase and sale of a Bored Ape NFT. Okay, I can use it personally as part of a marketplace for the purchase or sale. What? That's a commercial use. How is that a personal use? And if I could use it, copy it, and display it in the marketplace, but I can't sell it, again, you can see this makes no sense. You can use it as part of a third-party website or application that permits inclusion, involvement, or participation of your Bored Ape, only for personal, non-commercial use, if a game integrates the Bored Ape NFT into their game. Okay, and then there's all kinds of limitations here. So you can see how this is almost nonsensical. Now, again, I get a license, apparently, for commercial use, as long as I comply with the terms of use. If I don't comply with the terms of use, then, of course, I forego my commercial use rights, right? That makes no sense considering the other language. And, of course, the license is to use, copy, and display, again, only 3 of the multiple bundle of rights for copyright. The purchase art for the purpose of creating derivative works based on the art. So I can't personally create derivative works. Apparently I can commercially create derivative works. All right, let's see if we can figure that one out. For the sake of clarity, which of course is ridiculous, nothing in this agreement is clear, right? Nothing in this section will be deemed to restrict you from owning or operating a marketplace or owning or operating a third-party website that permits the inclusion, involvement, participation of Bored Apes. Great. That doesn't make anything any more clear to me. This is a complete cluster. You know what. All right. So when you bought your Bored Ape, this is the contract that determines what you received. And the answer is we don't know what you received and we don't know what you can pass on. And the value of these Bored Apes is tied to the clarity of this contract. So one of the ironic things here is Bored Ape is definitely one of the most, if not the most successful NFT drop. And the foundation of the NFT drop is all risk. All risk. So how did this happen? Well, look at Bored Ape Yacht Club didn't know it was going to be successful. They probably didn't have much money. They weren't going to spend it on lawyers. No one was thinking about the fact that the NFT is different than the actual copyright protected image, right? And so it's very, it's very predictable that in any new and emerging technology, you're going to have these initial offerings where they didn't involve the attorneys and didn't get it right, but they're still very successful. So will any of this actually impact things down the line with your Bored Ape? Unclear. Will people litigate what their actual rights are to both use, create derivative works, display, sell, lease, rent, etc. their Bored Ape? I would say at some point someone's going to litigate this and potentially in a class action format so that everyone who owns Bored Apes can have this clarified, which theoretically should increase the value of the Bored Ape. All right, so look at, not meaning to beat up on Bored Apes here at all. And how all this would come out, I'm not a court of law, I'm not a judge. Those things are determined typically by appellate judges once the case winds the way through the court system. What is Bored Ape's position in all of this? It's probably that they sold full ownership rights to their apes, irrespective of what all of this says. But the lesson here is, if you bought a Bored Ape, you definitely bought a compromised asset. If you're doing an NFT drop, you need to get not only the license agreement right, but it can't be on a website. It needs to go on a distributed system so that it's there forever. You're going to be gone someday, but this needs to be there 10,000 years from now. All right. Number one. Number two. Number three is you definitely should not be placing your images on a single non-redundant server where the entire asset class will be lost forever if the servers go down, right? So if you're going to do an NFT drop, lots of lessons here for you to take a look at. All right. So that's all for today. We're going to be looking at all of the different license agreements and all of the different assets on the top NFTs. We'll look at CryptoPunks. When you bought a CryptoPunk, what did you get? You're going to be surprised to learn that instead of ambiguity, your bigger issue with CryptoPunks may be that you didn't get any ownership rights, that there are clawback provisions, and that it's extremely unclear whether or not there was any license agreement at all. And if it's not written and it's an implied license, the owner of the copyright, which is no question that remained with the company, they can pull back those license or terminate those license at any time. So Bored Ape Yacht Club, don't feel bad. You're probably better off than the CryptoPunks. So if you're going to buy an NFT, what we learned here today is there's a lot of kind of due diligence you need to do besides rarity, and you want to get that right. Together, we can help move up the chain and make sure that the NFT drops of the future, right, are much more clear with regards to what rights in the copyright are being passed on, what limitations exist, so that the market can continue to mature. And if the market continues to mature, that's great for everybody. Every NFT drop that gets it right is an overall benefit to the entire NFT market. My name's Enrico. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining. Don't forget, subscribe, click on the little bell, help us out. We're moving our community over from Traverse Legal, our NFT community. We're going to create this new channel, and we're all going to love on NFTs together. That's it. We'll see you next time.